for today's session. Of course, we're going to explain what Insights is, how it can help level up your organization's digital strategy. We'll walk through some of the reporting that's available in Insights, both what comes standard and what can be custom built based on your organization's bespoke needs. We'll have Tyler join to walk through Progressive Nation's specific use of Insights and how it's helped them as an agency and given them insight into data over their network. We'll also have time for some frequently asked questions, and then, as Janet mentioned, open it up for general Q&A. All right, so let's get started. All right, so I think in framing the Insights tool, what I like to kind of reference for folks is that while NationBuilder does offer reporting, you'll see this in the dashboard section. I think a lot of the folks on the call today are really familiar with a lot of the filters that you can use to pull different metrics, reports, information about a specific segment of your audience. We often find working on our enterprise account management team that some of our larger customers have more bespoke needs. And so that might be really specific pieces of data that they need to report on, either to a particular department within their organization or potentially to a board or other authority. So that's really, I think, kind of the inception of the Insights tool. We found that a lot of folks were running into some challenges wherein they might have a need to export different data sets, like from different sections of the tool, for example. So maybe finance and people, combine those in Excel, do some filtering. I think folks here are probably familiar with some of the pain points there, but essentially what the problem we were seeing was is that folks were having a lot of challenges in answering some of the deeper questions that they needed to report out on or just wanted to have insight on to make more informed decisions as an organization. So that's kind of where Insights was first conceived. All right, so running through the basics here. Insights is a flexible data platform that enables you to analyze and visualize data within your nation or across your network of subnations. It is built on Tableau, but it uses a copy of your production data. So that's helpful. Just to note that there is going to be data taken from your nation, brought into Tableau each week, just so any sort of manipulation that you're doing within Insights is not going to impact in any way the live data that's currently in your nation. Insights delivers really powerful analytics functionality that helps you harness the full potential of your NationBuilder infrastructure, being able to really visualize in a better way all the different data points that might be stored in various parts of the product on an individual person or a group of folks. And then most importantly, Insights can equip folks that are leaders at your organization with the metrics that they need to succeed. This can also help visualize patterns that might be occurring so you can take action quickly and use data to make an informed decision. So running through some specifics here on the right-hand side, you'll see a few screen grabs from some of our standard membership reports within Insights. But Insights allows you to create powerful dashboards that provide deeper insight into who your supporters are and the things that they care about. You're able to combine data across multiple tables and data sources within NationBuilder. So again, calling back to that example I shared of combining data within the finance section and the people section. Some other examples, maybe like people and the website section might be combined just to unlock some different findings there. But it really supports you in aggregating data across your network or for specific nations. So speaking to some of the network folks that might be on the call, if you have a specific group of chapters or subnations, for example, that you want to analyze individually, really easy to do that within Insights. And then importantly, it's really easy to export data. So whether that's a CSV or a PDF, you also have the option to create recurring reports that will get sent to your inbox on a regular basis. So you have a really good touch point of what's going on in the nation in different kind of formats for accessing that information. Right, so who might benefit from using Insights? I imagine most folks listening in have some sort of curiosity around this, but helpful to run through a few specifics. Typically, I think when folks on our team are in conversation with customers who are frequently running complex filters that include criteria about supporter activity and growth, either across their nation or across their network. Those are folks that we might recommend Insights to. People who need to analyze or capture data for a specific point in time. In addition to that, people that are looking to analyze growth over time. I think insights can be really helpful there. Other pieces, folks who are putting together detailed reports about email performance and engagement across multiple broadcasters. I think this is something we've heard from customers increasingly frequently, just as emailing has gotten more difficult. And I think it's safe to assume that will continue to be the case. So really unlocking those insights can be game changing for your email strategy. And then lastly, any folks that are doing complex reporting on some of the below criteria, I think those are other kind of indicators to us that this might be a beneficial tool to add to your NationBuilder infrastructure. So donations, path activity, memberships, point people, events, log contacts, and tags. Right, so I think while everyone here might be just excited about having more data in general, I think a lot of folks on our team operate that way. What's important is not so much just having those extra data points on folks, but it's about what you can do with that data. So a few anecdotal results here just from customers that are currently using our Insights tool. You'll have the ability to make a more appropriate and timely donation ask. So increasing your donor conversion rate, helping you to meet and exceed any fundraising goals that you might have set as an organization, being able to analyze data about email performance over time. And what does that mean for you? It means being able to create content that more regularly drives your supporters to take action on things that you need them to. And also sending out emails at a time where you know folks are most likely to open. So they're most likely to get that content in front of their eyeballs. Other pieces here, being able to understand which pages are performing best in terms of bringing in new signups. So which pages might be a good target for a paid social campaign that you might want to run. Obviously helpful information to have there. And then lastly, but this is certainly not inclusive, I think, of all the results folks have seen, being able to use data to make informed decisions that could extend the life cycle of your average volunteer, donor, member, a variety of different things there. So hopefully this gives folks a sense of what's possible with insights. And obviously, I think each and every customer is going to have a unique situation in terms of what they're excited about with insights, what insights allows them to do. But hopefully this just gives you kind of a sense of what's possible. Right, and with that, I will pass things over to Dana.
All right, awesome. Thank you, Kylie. Yeah, so hopefully that overview kind of teed up what I'm going to jump into now, which is going into Insights, so into Tableau, which Insights is built on, and show you how NationBuilder data can be visualized in this like higher level reporting tool. So bear with me for one moment while I stop sharing this presentation and move over to Insights. Okay, great. So this is what Insights looks like. And again, this is Tableau in a web browser. I do just want to call out here, and I actually think Tyler will mention this if he is able to join us. But Insights can be either used in a desktop format, if that's something that you're already using at your organization, or something that you are looking to invest in, given how much you're utilizing Insights in general. But everything that you're going to see here and what's provided through NationBuilder is access to the web portal for Tableau. So I'm going to stop saying Tableau and I'm going to use Insights from here on out, I swear. But the cool thing though about Tableau, or the fact that this is built on Tableau specifically, is the fact that there are 1,000,010 resources out in the world of how to use Tableau, how to build reports, and all of those are applicable in NationBuilder Insights. So this isn't something that's super unique to NationBuilder only. This is like a transferable skill where you may already have someone that you work with, someone on your team, you yourself, that's used Tableau, and now you can transfer that knowledge to using it with NationBuilder data. So when you log in, I'm in a demo environment right now, but the fun thing about Insights is that it comes with a set of pre-built standard reports that our data science team has put together. So every instance of Insights, depending on if you're using certain aspects of this, like memberships, for example, payments, like donations and transactions, these dashboards will already exist in your nation. So giving you a chance to play around with insights, get a sense for what it can do, and kind of act as a foot in the door to using this on a day-to-day basis. So I'm going to dig into a couple of these just so you can see at a very high level what Insights is capable of doing. And then I'll go into speaking a little bit more about what the custom capabilities are. So I'll click into some of these. So in first, yep, these all open in another tab. So let me try to get Zoom out of the way. So paths activity. Paths in NationBuilder are incredibly important for tracking supporter engagement and meeting people where they're at, which is what NationBuilder is all about. But outside of path view can sometimes be a little bit difficult to visualize or get a sense of seeing the paths that are started versus completed. How long is someone on a path? How many people are on each path step at any given time? So if you're finding that you want more information about paths, or even if you just want to export data about paths, which is not currently available in NationBuilder, this is a way for you to do it. So Insights will give you like as you can see, a lot of these are going to be very basic, straightforward dashboards that are using one data source. Like it's just path data, it's just tag data. But again, these are just like the standard out of the box reports. But you can see how many people are on a path at any given point in time. So again, speaking to what Kylie mentioned about having a snapshot of how many people were on a path, this time last year, or how many people were on a path at this time last week. That's not necessarily information that you have access to, but Insights gives you the ability to do like that snapshot in time and get a sense of that growth. So scrolling down, I can also see which paths are most active. I can hover over any of these and see the path name, the number of records that fall into that criteria. I can click on certain aspects and see other areas of the dashboard update. So I'll click out of that. I can also drop this down and see, I want to see just paths that fall into the category of having been completed, just paths that have been abandoned. I can also see over here on the right-hand side, the path completion time averages. So this is actually taking a calculation of when did the path start, when was it completed or abandoned, and how many days was that path live on someone's profile. So a really good sense, especially if a path is indicating conversion. So conversion to become a donor, conversion to become a member, then that's a good sense of how long that process might take. So I'll move out of these, and I do want to go through as many as possible, so I am going to go through them a little bit quickly, but again, I can see that things are popping up in the chat. Feel free to drop your questions there and we'll address those. So tag activity. I don't know, hopefully everyone on this call knows it, but we did release a very small but mighty update recently in NationBuilder filtering that allows you to filter on the date someone was tagged, which is very cool because up until then, we didn't have much insight into the date on which someone received a tag, just that they had it or they didn't. But that data exists, and up until that filter criteria was introduced, Insights was really the only way to get at that information. But the beautiful thing about Insights is that you can actually visualize that more than in just a filter. So you can get a sense of, again, how many tags are applied over time, how many of a specific tag is applied over time. Scrolling down, I can see how many individuals have a certain tag. I can introduce filters in my dashboard to see tag names and just select maybe 10 from that list and see how many individuals have each of those 10 tags. And then you can also see the geographic location. This is pulling based off of the Twitter location of an individual because we get that data from Twitter if we've matched to someone's Twitter profile, but you could easily map this based off of someone's actual address location too. So if you have either voter data in your nation, you're collecting addresses because you're collecting donations, you're collecting addresses just because it's important to you. And all of that can be mapped in a dashboard as well. So that's a really cool way for you to see like, oh, on this map, I can see where my strongest supporters are, where my supporters who have the most of this tag are, etc. So tags dashboard is very cool. Mailing metrics is one of my favorites. So one of the things about NationBuilder that I think is one of the most asked questions I get personally is how can I do some advanced email reporting? So getting a sense of when are your emails getting opened, which emails are getting higher open rates. This is a way for you to dig into that information. So I can see my overall total email sent, my overall click, open and unsubscribe rates. I can filter, if I have a network, I can filter based off of the different nations in my network. So, and again, for anyone who's not familiar, just so you know, a network is a kind of a step beyond an enterprise plan where you're dealing with one NationBuilder account. It's where there's a parent nation and then there are sub nations or smaller nations kind of living underneath that umbrella. So I could potentially have like a chapter organization and I could look at either how my headquarters is doing or each of my chapters or all of my chapters in conjunction. I can look by broadcaster to see how my emails are doing. So if we're going to click on things, again, it's a demo nation, forgive me if nothing comes up. Okay, for Jim's broadcaster, these are the stats specifically. And if I click all, then it's going to update for the stats for everybody. So a really great way of just seeing performance by broadcaster. And you can actually search by the subject line or other aspects of your email. So if you have a certain naming convention, maybe you were doing support in your community for anyone affected by COVID-19 over the last few months, and you want to see how those emails performed. Very timely. Maybe you want to see how your Giving Tuesday emails performed, and you included Giving Tuesday in the subject line. You could type that in here, and it will update the stats in the dashboard to reflect that criteria that you've filtered for. So I'll scroll down. So this graph on the bottom left is one of my favorites. This is your performance by email, depending on the open rate, by the hour in which it was published and the day of the week that you sent it. So this actually gives you some insight into when your emails are have the highest open rates and when they're the most effectively reaching people. So you can better target individuals for really important asks like Giving Tuesday. But specifically like calls to action, reminders about signing a petition, reminders about events, but you can target them during the times at which you might have a higher open rate. So for example, like this email that was sent on a Friday, of course, the published hour depends on what your time zone is, and you can display an actual time here versus a number. But you can get a sense of the average open rate on the right-hand side for that hour and on a specific day. So does an email perform better if you send it at Friday morning at 11 o'clock or Thursday afternoon if you send it at 4 p.m.? And then over here on the right-hand side, this is just a sense too of emails that have a higher click rate. So if the and open rate. So you can see open rate is down here on the x-axis, click rate is on the y-axis. And so if you hover over here, you can see some of these outliers where emails might have performed exceptionally well or exceptionally poorly and get a sense of which emails those were. So moving back in here, I think there are two other dashboards that I want to land on really quickly. One is memberships. So memberships, I think there are likely people in this call who are using memberships. There are also likely people on this call who aren't. But I do think that this is a really neat dashboard if you are, because memberships in general are something that have a little bit of a limited reporting capability in NationBuilder in general. It's mostly just filtering and going to the memberships tab and seeing, oh, this many people have an active membership at the gold level. This many people have an active membership at the silver level. This actually gives you a chance to see the number of new members you have at each level by month when they joined. It could even be as specific as by day. Your membership growth over time. How many times are you asked to provide this number to individuals at your organization? And then your membership activity by type. So you have your types over here on the left. You have your categories here at the top. So active membership, membership expired, membership renewed. And so you can get a sense of like how many people are falling into each of those cohorts. And then over here, this is there's a lot of data going on here, but you can actually see individuals' membership history by their location in the country, in the world, in the state. So get a sense of where your members are located. And ideally, one day when we can meet in person, hopefully host some events based off of that information. And yeah, use that to further inform how you're targeting those members and providing opportunities or benefits or what have you. So last one that I will share is around surveys. So again, I'm not sure how many individuals on this call have used NationBuilder surveys. I think the reporting capability and the roll up of survey responses is good. But sometimes it helps to just be able to graph them in a way that's a little bit more visually pleasing than like, these are my 4 responses. This is the percentage of how many people responded XYZ way. So you can put survey responses into Insights and graph them however you'd like. So again, all of these are just like examples of, I think, what ended up looking best for the data that we had. But there are so many more options for how you can visualize this data. There are like upwards of like 15, 20 different graph types in Tableau that you can take advantage of. So there's a lot of really cool things that you can do. But you can see right here that this is categorizing survey responses by the date that they were received, and then it's color coded by the actual answer or the question that the person answered. And then at the bottom, you can see a little bit better of a breakdown of the survey name, your survey questions, your possible responses, and how many people answered each with this heat map. And then as Kylie mentioned too, all of this data you can export into a CSV, you can download. So here I'll show you actually, you can download this as an image, you can download the raw data, you can download it as a PDF, as a PowerPoint. So if you have something like a board report dashboard, you can actually just pull that into a PowerPoint and have to do little to no work to really set that up before you go ahead and share. I mean, outside of adding all of the necessary context around that you probably need to add before sharing it with a board or with a leadership team, but or with anyone outside the organization. But it's a really great way to hopefully save you some time and not have to export data into Excel, do a crazy amount of manipulation, and then prepare that work and in a presentable way for your team. So I'm going to move back into the presentation and then we'll go from there. Awesome. So each of the reports that I just shared with you are specifically using, as I mentioned, one data source. So we saw a survey dashboard that pulled just survey data, an email dashboard that pulled just email data. But you didn't see a lot of our dashboards that are using multiple data sources and kind of pulling those together. So Kylie mentioned that you might have a situation where you're exporting data from the people section and the finances section, and then you're running like VLOOKUPs in Excel, and you're trying to match the data together and kind of Frankenstein it into a report that's helpful for you. So one of the beautiful things about Insights is that you can also build custom reports that meet your needs specifically. So these reports can be built in one of 2 ways. So one of them is our professional services team does have the capability of building out reports. So if you have a report that you use NationBuilder data to put together every quarter, every month, every year, then you could provide that as an example to our professional services team, and we can do our best to try to translate that into something in Insights. So that is something where we would go through a formal scoping process, get a sense of what your goals and your needs are, and then provide an estimate for that work and then deliver on that. But you also, as I mentioned, you can build all of this on your own. You have full capability of pulling these reports together, and Tableau has an immense amount of resources for training. That's what I went through, and I would say I know enough to be dangerous in Insights. Am I a pro? Absolutely not. I am not a data scientist, but I do know enough to build a basic report or dashboard in Insights. And it's something I do often for practice. So it's definitely doable if that's of interest to you. And honestly, if you are building like formulas in Excel or pivot tables, you know enough to know how to put that together in Tableau. So some of the benefits of doing custom reporting, not that I even really need to go into this because I think everyone on this call knows that like doing things custom to your own organization, your own data is like of the utmost importance here. But specifically, you have the ability to join two or more data sets. So if you want to pull in like, I'm blanking on an example, of course, during the webinar, but if you want to pull together, for example, like people data and petition data, so group the number of people who sign a specific petition by the state in which they're located, you could do that. If you want to pull together donation data and path data, I actually do that in, see, I told you I know enough to be dangerous. I built this dashboard that's here on the right, okay? I never used Tableau before I worked at NationBuilder. And I think up until like 3 months ago. So on the, and you might have to squint a little bit, but on the bottom chart here, I actually have a graph that's pulling together the path value amounts. So a sum of the path values for everyone who's on an annual giving path and comparing it to all of the donations that have been received that have a tracking code related to annual giving. So I'm tracking the amount that I'm asking my annual donors for in the path value and comparing it to the actual transactions that I'm putting in NationBuilder. That's not something you can do in NationBuilder. You cannot aggregate a path value and compare it to the donations you've received in the goals section of NationBuilder. So you have the ability to tie that together. And then, as I mentioned, if you know how to create formulas in Excel, you know how to do it in Tableau. It's very similar. It's also pretty similar to, for anyone who's used NationBuilder liquid templating language, or well, NationBuilder uses it, but the liquid templating language to customize the content of an email or a page template to say, like, if you have this tag, you see this content, otherwise you see this content. Tableau is pretty similar, so you can build custom calculations, custom formula fields, and use those to either filter the data in your dashboards or as additional data points. So if you want to say, like, I want to see this number as a percentage, you can change that from saying, like, I want to see, like, I just want to see the sheer count of people who answered this question, to no, I want to see the percent of people who answered a question in this way. And then finally, the benefits of more benefits of custom reporting. So two things that I think are really important. One is many people, I assume on this call and just in general, supplement NationBuilder with apps or integrations. So use NationBuilder in conjunction with a third-party tool that integrates with NationBuilder, brings that data back in. So if you're using something for canvassing, phone banking, direct advocacy, any of those tools and that data is coming back into NationBuilder, you can include that in your insights reporting and pull together aspects of the actual person's profile in NationBuilder and the activity that we have about them from the different things they've done, which Congress people have they reached out to, which campaigns have they participated in. So all of that data can be pulled together, making it all that much more valuable. And then finally, I think one thing with, you know, utilizing any CRM tool in general, this is not NationBuilder specific, but adoption is always something that's like hard to come by, especially if NationBuilder's newer or if a CRM system is newer. So if you're asking people to do things like log contacts, update path activity, input donations manually, anything where you're trying to make sure that your data is as robust as possible and you're getting the most value out of people adding information into the system. This is a way for you to keep track of that, not only for your supporters, but also for your team. Like, shine a light on the metrics, how they're hitting them, if there are areas where adoption is lower and we need to address that. So these are all things that Insights can really help to do. And I've seen it happen with organizations that are using this, especially when it comes to logging contacts. So that is definitely an area where it's quite helpful. So I'll take a break there, and I want to see if Tyler has joined us. So let's
I think he's here.
see.
So Tyler, if
Oh,
you want to go
Tyler.
ahead and unmute.
I'll give you a second. I think Tyler might have just joined. I also think that I went over on that last section, getting very excited about insights and going into some of the reports. So I probably ate into some Q&A time, and for that I apologize, but we will do our best to answer everyone's questions. All right, so Tyler.
Looks like he might be having some audio issues. So I'm just going to give him a
Okay.
minute. Dana, while we're here, somebody did raise a question in chat if you want to answer that one. Elliot asked, for custom reports, are there a set of standard measures in Tableau?
Oh, interesting. For standard measures, Elliot, is there a measure that you're thinking of specific? Also, hi, Elliot. Elliot, is there something that you're thinking of specifically? I think one of the beauties of Tableau, and forgive me if I'm not answering your question, but it's wildly customizable. So I've had customers use this for situations. This is, I'm sure, not what you're asking about, but I've had situations where customers have implemented like custom fiscal years for tracking, and which is not something that they were really able to accommodate for in NationBuilder. Customers who, I think we have some customers who are using insights in currencies that aren't American dollar or US dollars. So like you have the ability to change that. But yeah, so I think as far as like changing measures, a lot of what you have the flexibility to do that a lot in Tableau settings, but you can also accommodate a lot of that in using like some of the formula fields that I mentioned too. Like I often find if data is not being presented in a way that I need to see it, then I can create a formula field to change the way that it displays. Looks like there's a question about the search function within emails. So yes, you can search for other data beyond the subject search word. So for example, if you have like an internal naming convention that's dictating how you'd want to search, but you don't necessarily use that when pulling in subject lines, then yes, you can do that. The beauty of Insights specifically is any of these data points can serve as one of those filters. So when I was opening up those drop downs and saying, oh, I can click on like just these path names, or I can search this subject line, that can actually pertain to any data point about an email blast, about a person. So if you have situations where you want to filter off of things other than a subject line, for example, you can absolutely do that. We're going to touch on cost at the end. We have like a fun little FAQ section. I say fun. I don't know how fun it's going to be, but it will be informative at the least. It looks like Kate asked a question about setting formats or combining specific filters to save or automate and then pull specific information into a report on a regular basis. We are touching on that a little bit at the end too. Insights does automatically update regularly. So if you have a report set up, then that data will be refreshed constantly, or not constant, on a consistent basis that we'll touch on. It's once a week, just so you know. I'm not trying to like hide anything behind a curtain. We'll talk about why. But that will update automatically, Kate. So you don't have to go into Insights and like refresh everything and like set up your filtering again. You can do it all dynamically, so that ideally you would just either have a report emailed to you, or you check it every week, or you go ahead and download an image and share it out with your team. All right, so cool. Tyler.
Hello.
Hello.
Yeah.
Welcome. So
Yeah.
I chatted for far too long. So I might have one question for you, which is if we can run through your presentation a little bit quicker than we talked about, that would be awesome. So forgive me. But I'll go ahead and have you introduce yourself and I will run through your slides. So just let me know when you need me to move to the next one.
Awesome. Thanks. Hey, everyone. My name is Tyler Johnson. I'm from Progressive Nation. We are a certified nation builder agency. And in a nutshell, what we do is we empower people and organizations who drive positive progressive change. And we do that by providing digital organizing tools and services that are integrated, accessible, and impactful. And of course, NationBuilder does all of those things. With a network of over, next slide, please. With a network of over 60 subnations, NationBuilder Insights has really saved us a lot of time and quite frankly, repetitive tasks. One of the major uses I'll touch on today is the annual nation audit that we conduct, as well as some other reports that we provide our clients. This previously took us a few hours to conduct per nation, and we had to go into each individual nation and conduct that audit. Now it's done with the click of a button. And we're going to show you kind of how we do that. And then the other major use I'll touch on is our internal use, which helps us manage our sub-nation themes. And while I'm talking about this from a, agency client perspective, there's a lot of things that many of you will be able to use in your own. And if you have, sub-chapters or chapters or, sub-nations, a lot of this will apply. We use Tableau desktop primarily because we wanted to have the ability to format text size and chart colors, but we found that it's actually been a great investment for much more beyond that. So just so that you are aware, like there is that added cost above NationBuilder Insights just for Tableau desktop, but honestly, if you only have one person using it, it's really worth the investment because in the web version of Tableau, you're not able to change, text size of every element or change chart colors as easily. So yeah. Next slide, please. So NationBuilder Insights really brings your data to life through visualization. This visualization here, I call it the tree trunk because it showcases a nation's supporters, which are represented as the dots that you see in rings, so that at the very center of the ring of the graph, of the inner ring of the graph, there's the first signups that signed up on your nation or were imported, and the outer ring are the newest signups. And so the size of the dots get bigger the more capital that sign up has. And so you can see here that the engagement in this nation is fairly spread out amongst early signups and the more recent signups. And then there's a ton of disengaged signups in between. And actually, sorry, just to go back for just a quick second, social capital that I mentioned is either the social capital, or it's also known as political capital. It's a form of digital currency in NationBuilder that can really help you measure the level of engagement with your supporters, and you can control kind of how much capital someone gets for retweeting you or for signing up or for signing a petition, et cetera, making a donation. So this visualization, is one that would really help you visualize your supporters at engagement level. Next slide, please. This is another visualization. This one is properly called packed bubbles in NationBuilder Insights or in Tableau. It shows donor data that's grouped in what we have our custom defined cohorts. So for our clients, we break these cohorts down into 7 groups, but you could, use there's predefined ones, or you could create your own custom cohorts. So this particular one, the size of the bubble is based on the sum of donation, but then you can see some of the data within that bubble. It shows, for example, the green one at the top is donors who have donated between $1,000 and just under $5,000 in total. So over the lifetime of that supporter. There's 122 of them in this particular example. And together, those 122 donors have raised $209,820. So that's an example of kind of the custom level reports that you can put together. Somebody asked in the chat, if you needed training on building those, or if you could, build any type of custom reports. You can. Basically, the sky's the limit. You can really, as long as you know or have someone on your team who kind of knows some of the formulas that you would typically use in a software like this, then you can create really any type of data that you're looking for. But I know, Stephen and the NationBuilder team are super helpful as well, and they've helped us even build a few custom reports because they were beyond our scope, and we were kind of like, this is our outcome, but we haven't been able to quite get it. So yeah, that's another type of data visualization. Next slide, please. And the next thing, so this is, one of the great features of NationBuilder Insights and Tableau together is that you can create dashboards made up of several individual charts and graphs, and then you can export those into these beautiful PDFs. So this is a 2-page PDF, and this is an example of one of our standard reports here at Progressive Nation, not NationBuilder. And it's a 2-page PDF. It's just a donation report, so it goes over, high level, the total number of donations, the number of donors, first-time donors, all that type of stuff, the average donation. And then it breaks it down into, these are your donor cohorts, these are your top 10 mailings, these are the payment methods and where you're how you're bringing in that money. So are you bringing it in by credit card, by check, by wire transfer, et cetera? And that's based on, how you're entering all that into your nation. There's, total donations or average donation amount over time. So this is, for the entire year from January to August when we generated this example report. You see kind of all the redacted pieces. That's just because this was live data, so we didn't want to share that on behalf of the client. But you could also break down recurring versus one-time donations, and again that tracked over time. Top 10 tracking codes. So these take the tracking codes that are in your nation and break them down. This is by quarter, so we've decided to group them by quarter 1, 2, 3. And you can see kind of which ones are the highest and have brought in the most during those quarters. And then of course, we even were able to bring in the top 10 donors. So this brings in like the individual people or organizations or companies that have donated to you or contributed to you. Now, this is all donation data. So, you can then segment further to say, we want the top 10 donors from this specific page, or the top 10 donors who didn't give through a membership page, because that would also be technically included in your donor data. So this is an example of a beautiful PDF report that you can create, and you can see that there's no branding on it other than, at the bottom, we've decided to put our own branding along with NationBuilders on our reports, but you'd be able to put your own logo at the top or whatever it may be, and then present it to your board of directors or your stakeholders at any other tables. Next slide, please. And so then once you create a dashboard and that PDF that I showed you, and Dana touched on this previously as well, is that you're really then able to, once you create that dashboard, easily filter. So all we have to do now that we've created that dashboard and that report is just change the filter. So we just say, oh, instead of this nation, we want to now analyze this nation slug. Or this broadcaster. And so you can really analyze across an entire network and drill down, by nation slug, broadcaster, tracking code, so like the financial tracking codes, even import file names. So if you had a specific file name that you imported that you just want to see that data. And then you can create like leaderboards between your chapters or your clubs or your subnations. And so you can get really creative with it. And so that's how we're able to then, put together these reports now for our clients with the click of a button, because it's literally us just changing the nation slug, printing the new report, as opposed to us having to put together a report every single time we're conducting a nation audit. So it's been very helpful. Next slide, please. Particular to us, and I know that there's one group who might be joining us who also handles clients, so this might be very useful for you, but specific to us at Progressive Nation, so we have one shared theme framework. So all of our client themes, over 60 of them, all use the same theme framework, and we're able to push updates to those on a regular basis. So, you know, almost on a weekly basis, we're pushing updates and bug fixes and whatnot, but also new features. And one of the biggest challenges that we had was before Insights, we had to go into everybody's nation individually to find out, you know, what tags are they using, and the tags, the page tags are what determine kind of how their page looks, and so it reformats their page easily with them, you know, not needing any code. And so we needed to figure out what were the most popular page tags that were used. So you can see here, there's layout underscore form underscore center, and there's 938 tags. That is one of the highest used, you know, that means that our clients on 938 pages across our network are wanting their form, whether it be a donation form or a sign up form, to be center aligned as opposed to the default left or right. And so that then helped us, but also we were able to then find out which page tags are used by which nation specifically, and that's in the background report that you see there. And that really helped us, especially recently, because we did a major upgrade which required the changing of many tags. And so we were able to quickly see what nations have which tags that need to be changed, and then we went into those nations, changed those tags, and it was a lot quicker than having to go through every single client's nation to find out who is using which page tags. So thanks to Stephen at NationBuilder, this report is now available as page tags. It's not a standard report, but the data is there, and it's because, you know, we needed it, and we were like, hey, the data is available in NationBuilder. So, and this could even really hypothetically also drill down to page. So you could also see, you know, what pages on a specific nation is this tag on. How that could be used outside of a networked or client base is if you have a chapter-based organization and you all use the same theme, but you want to know, you know, let's say you all have a naming convention of your blog posts, and so you want to know, you know, what categories are people using for most of their blog posts. That could be one way of using it. Or if you do use the same theme that use a similar structure to how ours is built out, where you could use page tags to change layouts, you'd be able to see across your chapters who's using what layouts and what are the most popular, and then provide, you know, more support based on that. And that's everything for me. So was that quick enough, Dana?
That was perfect. Thank you, Tyler. Yeah, it's so helpful to have someone join who has used Insights in a different capacity outside of obviously like working at NationBuilder. So thank you so much for joining. That was incredibly helpful. I really appreciate it. And you did a magnificent job of getting through a lot of content really quickly. So I do just want to call out, we are probably going to run to time. If anyone still has questions at the end of this, we have one quick last section of FAQs that Kylie's going to run through. If you do have any questions and you want to hang on after, I have nothing after this. I'll keep the room open, so feel free to stay. And also, if you do have questions, any of your account managers can absolutely help. So you also should have my email because I sent the reminder earlier today, and I'll send the recording later so you can reach out to me directly, and Kylie and I can tackle those as they come in. All right,
Awesome.
With that, Kylie.
Yeah, I will also try to run through these at super speed so we can get into specific questions that folks have shared. Number one, how much does it cost? So Julie, I think you'd raised this question also. It is an additional cost. We are asking folks to reach out directly to your EAM or your account manager to have that conversation. They would be the best person to provide some more context on that. Second up, which data points can I include in Insights? So I think we've alluded to this a few times throughout the context of the presentation, but anything that's in NationBuilder can be included in Insights. So when that comes to integrated tools that have data coming into NationBuilder, that can all be included. The point that I want to drill in on is if you have like multiple different systems that you're using. So maybe you have one team using NationBuilder, your membership team uses a totally different system. unfortunately, that data cannot be brought into Insights unless it is being brought into your NationBuilder account. So just want to be clear on that point. How often is data in Insights refreshed? So again, something we've talked about a little bit. Data that comes into Insights is a copy of your it's like snapshot of your nation at a particular point in time. That refresh happens on a weekly basis. So that's how often you can expect for that to happen. And I believe that's on Mondays, but Dana, keep me honest there. Last piece, if you are interested in getting a sense of what that looks like with your nation's data, which I imagine a lot of folks would be if that's the next step that you're interested in. Again, we're just asking folks to connect with your enterprise account manager, and they can share some more details about what it looks like to give things a test run. Dana, I went through that super quickly. Anything you would like to add?
No, I mean, I will share, it is important to reach out to your account manager about cost. The reason for that is that it's a little bit variable depending on what your current monthly cost is. We don't want it to be, it wouldn't make sense for it to be a flat fee across all customers, given the level that everyone's at. So we have a system that I think makes a lot of sense. So talk to your account manager about that if you have questions. And yes, what Kylie mentioned at the end, there is a trial period included where you get to test this before you actually make a decision of if it's something you want to start paying for on a monthly basis or annually or however you pay for NationBuilder. So you absolutely have a chance to play around with your own data. And in many cases, we've actually worked on some like very high level, like more on the basic side of things, but some custom reports as part of that process. So you can prove out the concept. So 100% something we're happy to be in a conversation in, similar to the custom reporting. There's no one size fits all solution for this. So we want that to make sure that it makes sense for everyone who's interested. All right, with that, Q&A. I think we've answered some of these. When we'll be ready for a trial period at any point in time. So we have some customers who actively use Insights now. We have some organizations like Progressive Nation who use Insights now. If you decide that you want to start a trial, there is an agreement that you have to sign, which is specifically just agreeing upon what the cost would be. And like the term, kind of aligning it with like the start and end date of your existing contract, or the start date of you using Insights and having it align with the end date of your existing contract. But the trial period can happen whenever you'd like. The process of spinning up the account, I would say having like a week's lead time is helpful. And because the data only refreshes on Mondays for right now, which I do want to call out, the reason for that is because we use a copy of your production data. And so that was kind of the trade-off. Like instead of using everyone's live data and running the potential risk of like, I don't know in what world this would happen, but like you change something in Insights and it deletes a bunch of data in your nation. It's not possible with the way that we've set this up, which is why we copy your data and put it into Insights. But for that reason, we need to figure out like the trial period that makes sense for you so you can see the data update properly. And also, there was something else that I was going to mention that I don't remember. But yeah, if you do want to start out a trial, then the data processing agreement. So we just have to have you sign something that basically says like, we're making a copy of your data, we're storing it to put it in Tableau. Are you okay with that? And once that agreement is signed, then we can spin up the trial in a matter of days. I hope that answers your question. There are a whole bunch of factors, which is why there's no like straightforward answer as to like, this is where the trial is, this is how much it costs, this is all, all the answers. So forgive me for being a little bit vague, but it's for a reason, I swear. There's a lot of moving parts and it's a very like bespoke thing that we set up for each customer. Any other questions slash anything that I missed in the chat that we have not yet answered? Jacob, it looks like, okay, I think Kylie touched on this question a little bit. If you send emails nationally, is there a way to analyze time of day / open rate by time zone? I would want to look into that just because I don't know how the data presents itself for the time zone that the recipient is in. I'm not sure if that's what you're asking, but you could feasibly present it in the time zone that you're in, if that's the information. Okay. Yeah. Any other questions? Oh, you know what? There was a question around training. So I just want to be explicitly clear about that bit. I know that I think Tyler mentioned training briefly. So as part of the trial period, the way that it kicks off is we kind of give you the keys to Insights. And then Stephen, our director of data science, who this is basically his brainchild. And so Stephen will do an hour-long orientation with you to walk you through how to access Insights, walk through some of the standard reports, talk a little bit about some of the custom reporting you're looking for, and get a sense of like how much of that we might feasibly be able to tackle as part of a trial versus like an actual paid professional service. It really depends on like the lift of in the complexity of the report, but in most cases, if there's something basic like an unsubscribe report that you're looking for like, I want to know which of my email blasts are resulting in the most unsubscribes, that's something that like reasonably we might be able to deliver as part of that trial. Again, it's very dependent on each situation and your data. So we'll do that. And then Stephen will actively show you like what it looks like to create a report. I have actually found that all of Tableau's free training online has been first absolutely sufficient for me to learn how to use Insights. I will say that the caveat about that is I'm very familiar with the data structure of NationBuilder and the different data points associated with things like people's profiles and events and petitions. But if you are also familiar with that, which I think most everyone on this call is, then once you kind of get familiar with those little nuanced NationBuilder things, paired with the free resources provided by Tableau, that should be enough. What we are looking into like long-term, as this becomes more and more popular. Again, it's been it still is very much a beta product that we're looking to iterate on, but I think with the customers who've really been kind of piloting this and spearheading this over the last year, we've kind of handled training in a pretty bespoke way. So long term, I think we are looking at potentially introducing like a more formal training offering. Tableau subscription is provided by NationBuilder. So the only subscription price that you'll pay is the monthly cost for Tableau based off of your existing contract. I know Tyler mentioned using the desktop version. If you do want to opt to use the desktop version versus the web version that I shared, then that would be a monthly cost that you would incur separately. But the web version and access to Tableau would all be included in that monthly cost that you would agree upon prior to entering into the trial. Yep. Cool. Oh, for the desktop, the desktop is charged annually. Yeah. That's good to know. Yeah, so the payment terms for Insights, I believe, will align with however you pay your contract currently. So if you're paying monthly, you'll pay for Insights monthly. If you pay annually, then you'll pay for Insights in a lump sum. But again, that's me saying blanket terms. That's a conversation to have with your account manager and the account executive. Any other questions? Cool. All right. Well, I know a bunch of people hung out a little bit longer, so I appreciate that. Anyone on this call who works with me knows that I can tend to be a little chatty, so that's my fault. I apologize. But Insights has been, I personally have a handful of organizations that I work with who use Insights. It's an exceptionally cool tool to layer on top of your NationBuilder data. It really does make all the difference, especially if you find yourself constantly pulling manual reports. I would like for you to not have to do that and to have a more automated way of managing that. So even if cost is potentially like a barrier for you, I do really encourage you to at least talk to your account manager about Insights if you are interested. Like we are really eager to get this in the hands of people who will find it to be useful and find it to be helpful. And it is currently only available. And I don't know that that will change anytime soon. It is currently only available to our enterprise and network customers. So it is an opportunity too for you to experience a beta project or product, give us some feedback, give Stephen feedback, and we can continue to iterate on it and make it better. So I would love for you to be a part of that and really appreciate everyone joining today. Thank you again, Tyler, for your time and jumping on here. I so appreciate it. And yeah, let us know if you have any questions. Reach out to me, Kylie, your account manager, anyone at NationBuilder that you know, and we're happy to talk about it. And if you think of any other questions, then yeah, let us know. All right.
Thanks so much,
Awesome.
everyone.